initiative set out to solve a dilemma, which was about contemporary dance companies that knew nothing really about rural touring and rural touring schemes that often struggled to know how to promote dance or get audiences for dance.
I think one of the strengths around it has been the partnership working from the organisations involved who really bring their own specialisms.
So Take Art are an organisation based in rural Somerset, so they bring the grassroots element of the project. China Plate, who are very experienced producers. Ed's particular expertise was incredibly useful when we started to plan and deliver our artist labs, where we took people off to very remote places and basically we gave them the whole 9 yards as far as rural touring was concerned. The Place are our key line into the contemporary dance world, and the NRTF, the National Rural Touring Forum, is the key umbrella organisation for all rural touring schemes.
What's great is that all the partners bring their specialism to it, which means that the whole is greater than the sum of each of those parts and those organisations, and they wouldn't be able to achieve what they can do with this project by just working on their own.
In my head, rural touring is quite big in terms of all the logistics and what you got to do. So I've done touring before, but nothing like this, whereas I didn't hiring a van. I was like, why do I have to hire a van? And like your own lights and all of these other little ins and outs that I didn't really know existed or I'd have to deal with. It's been stressing me out just a little bit.
Ultimately, what the labs taught me is actually we are taking our work to their space. They are inviting us into their space to see the work. It's a real privilege to take the work to the people, as cliched as it seems, but to take work to people, there's a whole process, there's a whole mindset, there's a whole thinking about how we do that.
This is the first village hall that we've come to for the lab, and we're pleasantly surprised. Actually, it's much bigger than we thought, and for us it's very important, the floor, because we do a lot of footwork and body percussion. So initially our first thing was, this floor is great, and we're contemplating whether we need a dance floor or not. Although it's the community space, I think it's nice that we can create a different atmosphere. Yeah. So we transform the space. It's something they recognise, but it's something's changed because we are there, and hopefully that'll be memorable. We're just now discussing things of the lights that we decide to use and how we put the audience, because I think it would be very nice not to do it in a traditional way of like this, but maybe create a different kind of way for them to be incorporated.
The thing about coming has been, a lot of it's been meeting the promoters and getting an understanding of their perspective when you're looking at people who work as volunteers and invest all of that passion in their local community, but understanding what it is that they're expecting and wanting. And I can see there's this sort of, these two worlds we're orbiting, which hopefully this work is trying to crack that down.
Sorry about the dog, nothing I can do about that. It was lovely to welcome back Joanne and Jolene and the girls, Katie and Lynn, to see them again. It's almost exactly 2 years. I think it was the 26th of November. Well, let's say almost exactly. It's 1 year, 11 months virtually.
Antigone Interrupted is a commission from the Rural Touring Dance Initiative, which means we are creating this work specifically with rural audiences and performing spaces in mind. From the start, we are thinking, how are we going to show the piece? So we're working on the round to try and give the best possible sidelines to everyone. Very little theatrical effects. We're really focusing on the voice and the body of the performer. So it's not something that it's a version of what it should be, it's the thing. And for myself as a creator, it brings a set of challenges that then become the parameters that you work with.
This week of residency we had in Roadwater was so useful to inform the work and for the work to be informed by it and for us to understand what we were making. But not only because we were in the round, like we wanted to make it and in a rural venue, but also because we were exposing the work to people who were there while the work was being made. And this is a much more vulnerable stage.
That's what's really beautiful about the rural touring circuit, that it's not so much about you and coming to see your specific work, but it's about celebrating the community, and everyone is coming because there's something on. And so you're really speaking to a much broader audience, and you want to find ways to engage with them. So that joint of the Rural Touring Dance Initiative has been really useful, and now I think we understand we're better equipped to keep those conversations going because we know what information is needed. Something really special that has come up is how we are being able to meet each other as artists and as a community, and I feel like I'm not being asked to dilute what I do as an artist. There's a real generosity that feels really supportive, and then you can feel how bridges really start to, and conversations start to emerge, and I feel really inspired by that generosity.
There is a show that happened in the village hall, you know, but that's not really what it's all about. It's about the connection you build, and I feel so privileged to have been able to build them over time. But the conversation you have with people before, after, the meal you share.
I do try my hardest, but as I say, this time I haven't really done too much marketing because people just seem to be appearing. And there are some of the regulars, which is nice, because they've missed all the shows and things that we've had, and they're just raring to come back to something.
Just catching me just right at the end of our little tech run, and then we've got a few minutes until we start show. So yeah, it's going really well so far. All of the travelling and driving up and down in our vans has been cool. That's been a little experience because it's an automatic and I haven't driven an automatic before, so me and my technician we're sharing the driving in that, so that's been fun. But yeah man, it's been really cool, just easy to adapt to all of the spaces with me and my team, so really grateful for the team that I have.
Well, the impact is huge because we are always wanting to embrace artists and engage artists with young people, because especially in rural areas they don't get very much of a exposure. So we always try to run workshops or to do residencies, or recently we've done a commissioned piece with the Rural Touring Dance Initiative, and so young people have been involved in an actual project working alongside professional artists, and then they come to see the performance, which is just fantastic, and then they get to realise what's out there and how they can work with dance in the same way, hopefully, later on in life. So it's huge.
We're in North Devon. It's sometimes hard to bring this sort of thing that's happening maybe around the world and in other areas to this part of the world. So it's great for the community, but wonderful for our students. So I counted at least 20 in here tonight. What an experience for them, and I believe there's been workshops supporting them as well. So what a great thing.
I really enjoyed it. It was a really new experience. I just never saw crump before. I never heard of it even. So I really enjoyed it.
It's very different to what we're used to dancing, because we both dance, and so and you kind of wanted to make me go do it and try it out.
The music made it. It was just so like, oh, I could watch more.
I've never had one of these on before. It's going really well, and it's basically just getting us to try a different type of dance, and we've been learning a routine. It feels good because someone from a long way away has come to want to dance with you and make you feel like you can do as much more, and he's really inspiring. Yeah, I'm always interested in working with younger people and just teaching them the ropes, especially with Crump. That's my little baby. No matter where they are, whether that's rural or like inner cities, they can sometimes get into their comfort zone, and just telling them it's always about just like diving in head first.
I'm really glad that we've had the opportunity to sort of show them a variety of different arts. We used to go for theatre and music mainly. Dance is something that was not so popular, I think, in the past, and we were a bit nervous about accepting a dance company. But we were totally taken aback by the audience. The audience was absolutely marvellous. We sold out, for our first dance performance, which was so encouraging.
I'm just a volunteer in this community library, and we're just trying to keep the library going. It's a small library, we only can have a small audience in here, so we rely on people like the Rural Arts Dance Initiative and Rural Arts and Thirst to help us. So they said, look, we'll fund you, Nick, let's put a show on here. And you can saw the response of the audience during COVID, but it was just so joyful, and just to see the dance.
I've got some tea bags somewhere. I hope you're getting all this. Today we are at the Barlow in Edgeworth and it's lovely. It's a big old building with a really old hall. It was all like, we've got all this kit, we're going to a new venue, we're going to do something. We didn't know if all the kit would work. You know, all of these like crazy questions. And then we did it.
We did it.
And it didn't really make sense until people are in the room with you. You know, our rehearsals are just like, what, really? I've been on the phone to everyone in the build-up.
Yeah.
And I just pretend that I know them straight away. I believe in village halls, I have to say. You know, you've got like rural touring and then you've got the promoters who know rural touring and then you've got these village hall people who know the people and I don't know anyone. We wanted to make a piece that's really live. I wanted to play in the presence of the public and for that interaction to be live.
This is the first time that they've really hosted a dance performance, so they're not really 100% sure what to take from it and what it is, and I think this particular production, it's very hard to kind of fathom out sometimes what bits you're supposed to be laughing at and what bits maybe you could take quite seriously. It's quite interesting to see who's come out tonight and who's chosen to come here.
It doesn't feel like it's set in any way, it feels like it's able to create and recreate and adapt slightly, you know. There's always a question, how much do you adapt? Okay, here we got, this is this venue and it's this demographic and how do we adapt? Do that cleverly, Joe, think about it. I describe the show as our party and you're invited. And when it's going well, that's what it feels like. You know, and it feels like you hand the party over to everyone.
Yeah.
Cheers, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much.
With the accelerating concerns that we've got about the climate emergency and ecological disaster that we're facing, it's really important that we develop sustainable touring mechanisms, and we believe RTDI is part of that solution. The brilliant thing about RTDI is it brings dance companies into the community and has a relatively modest carbon footprint. It also contributes to the social fabric of community life as we know.
It's about finding that connection between an audience and the work on stage, which is the kind of universal question that artists have to ask themselves and of their work. It opens up an ecology of venues, which is huge. I really think that work that tours becomes richer in that meeting point with different audiences.
It's really important that after the RTDI finishes in its current form, that we still have enough of an offer to our promoters and to our audiences who are now on a different level of wanting to see more dance, and we've worked with lots of lovely new companies, and we need to ensure that we can still support those companies to tour rurally and make sure that there is enough content for our audiences.
I feel now that we're in a position where it's commonplace to see really high quality contemporary dance happening on rural touring schemes all over the country, and there's a ready audience now waiting for more of this incredible work.